Have you ever heard the sound of freedom?
Welcome to another 5-minute flip.
What is up, Flipopotomi? Welcome to your 5-minute flip for June the 10th, 2026. I am someone that struggles with control. I am someone, particularly with my two church plants, but also I think just in life in general, someone where others have said to me numerous times that I need to let go. And let go of me being in control. And there's sort of two sides of that. One of them is the internal struggle of control, the internal struggle that just builds a lot of anxiety and stress, and it keeps you, what's the word, like on edge, kind of like you're on a high wire, where when you plant a church, it is sort of a mixed bag, because you are in control in a sense when you start. You are crafting this thing. It doesn't just happen. This is not something you sit on your couch in apathy and, oh, poof, there's a church. You really are doing everything to build systems, to recruit people, to come up with good ideas, events, connections, all these sorts of things. And so what starts to happen is, as the church plant grows and develops, that stays ingrained in you, where that transfers over to, if our church is going to be sustainable. And I'd say for both of my church plants, the goal for many years was to get to the point of sustainability. So I think it's different, and it's just a different set of problems. It's not even that one is maybe harder or easier than the other. But if you're in an established church, let's say, by established I mean 150 or more people, 200 or more people, and you're self-sustaining. You know, the offering coming in covers your expenses. You're able to hire or pay at least one full-time pastor, you know, those sorts of things, let alone a church of 500, etc. You have your own set of problems to work with, but there's a sense of managing what you have. There's not an urgency that we need to grow to X amount of size or we're going to close the doors. Right? There's this pressure in a small church plant that every person matters. And by matters, I mean in the sense of their attendance. We need them here. We need every sort of attender that we have. And there's things that I can do as a church planter that influence if somebody comes back again. If I contact them twice in a week and I go to lunch with them and I, et cetera, down the line, or if someone's in a kind of broken, traumatic situation and they're drawn to Jesus and they're coming to church, but their life is very unstable, very volatile, lots of traumatic kind of coping mechanisms going on. Well, if I love them, if I provide stability, if I reach out to them, if I pick them up and give them rides to church, you get the idea, then I can get them there. So that's, again, this mixed bag that I have this power and control to keep this thing going. And then the other side of that coin, which is this dark side that turns into the internal anxiety and pressure and stress, is, and this becomes a distortion. This becomes and I know most of you listening aren't church planters or pastors, but apply this to your life. Let's just pause and say, where are the areas that you are trying to control? It could be in your marriage. It could be something with your spouse, something with your job. And when we try to control people or things that we really don't have the power to control, it's a very similar cycle. And we start to play God, and it turns in on itself pretty quickly. So I guess you can think of it as a metaphor or an illustration to your context, but in a church planting context, particularly as the church grows and becomes more complex, there's just way more things going on that a church planter can get his or her hands on. There's way more things going on than you can get you only have so many hours in a week and so much energy to do. And so that's a recipe for burnout. But the burnout isn't external. The burnout is internal. And that's what I mean when I've had people say to me, you need to let go. And I agree, right? Totally. These are usually within very caring, spiritually discerning settings. God saying to them to say to me, God saying, let go. And I have always received that message. And if you struggle with control and you have a sense of awareness about it and you see the negative repercussions of that, and there's relational repercussions of it too, struggling with other people's ideas, struggling with, well, that may not be as effective as the way I'd like to do it, having fear about if we do it that way. Again, that fear of survival. Whenever you have a fear of survival, that breeds a lot of self-protection. It breeds a lot of feelings of being unsafe, and those are all deep things. And a lot of those go back to our childhood wounds as well, of where these fears, these insecurities came from. So a lot of traction can be made there with a counselor, with a therapist on these deeper spaces of why that need for control comes around. But it can definitely affect in a negative way the relationships of those you're working with, and those who are bringing up ideas or that you're handing things off to. So one really cool thing happened for me this week, and a very good friend, God, they were doing a time with the Lord of listening, and the Lord gave them a message to give to me. And I love that. That's happened to me twice in the last several months, 5-6 months, where God has given someone a message to give to me in a very prayerful, spiritually discerning way, where they were listening to God, and they wrote it down and they brought it to me, and it's very much on time and on point. And within this was the message from God to let go. And I sat with that, and again, the same thing. I want to let go, God. There's fear of letting go, right? And that's why we don't. There's fear that if we do, what will happen? If we do, the whole thing will be lost. And Jesus spoke to me and adapted would be a good word, adapted the message of let go. See, letting go feels like I'm letting go of this rope, like I'm trying to pull this thing up from the ocean, out of the lake. There's this heavy object that I'm pulling in with a rope. Maybe it's a sunken boat or something, or I'm trying to keep a boat from sinking and I'm pulling on it. And if I let go, the thing's gone. And that's my greatest fear, is that the thing's gone, because then it produces the feelings of failure, of all those sorts of things. Well, Jesus adapted the message of let go, and he said to me, let me. Jesus speaking that to me, to let Jesus. So instead of me letting go of the rope, and whatever that rope is in your life that you're clutching to, there's immense fear in letting go of that thing. But the invitation from Jesus is so warm and inviting and loving and relational. He sees you and he sees me pulling the rope as hard as we can. He sees the rope chafing our hands, rubbing them raw, blood coming from our hands because we are clutching this rope and it's slipping through our grip. And he comes and he says, let me. And he puts his hands on the rope with us, And now we can actually totally let go of the rope because his grip is so much stronger than our grip. And with that, things will look different. There is a surrender that I'm surrendering my expectations, what I want, my timeline. And if you look throughout Scripture, there's so many messages where God says, my ways are not your ways. He says the human heart is the most deceptive of all things. He says, I will use the weak to shame the wise. He talks about the world is focused on the strength and wisdom, and he says, I'm going to use the weak and the foolish, and it's going to look different. But that invitation was it brought me so much freedom in that inner space, and brought me so much closer with Jesus, where now that is a daily prayer of mine, a daily meditation, is listening to Jesus say, Noah, let me. And he's right there alongside of me. I can feel his presence, and I can let go of the rope because he now is with me holding it. Let me. So I don't know what that looks like in your life, whatever that let me is from Jesus, but maybe adapt that message as well from let go, which I think can produce a lot of shame. I wish I could, or a lot of fear. If I do, something worse will happen. And receive the invitation from Jesus. Let me, he says. Let me hold it. Let me, and trust me, and just be with me. Thanks for listening to this 5-minute flip, and I will see you next time on the flip side.
Thanks for listening to this 5-minute flip. Subscribe for more flips and long-form episodes of The Flip Side. Visit www.patreon.com/NoahFilippiak to support and get sweet Flipside swag.